Thanks for joining us for another edition of The Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.com.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for tuning in to another edition of The Small Business Show, exclusively right here at ASBN.com and now streaming on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. According to Fortune magazine, 87%, that's right, 87% of employers consider employee retention a crucial component of their business strategy. I think it's more like 100%, but I'll go with the 87% right now. Joining us now is CEO of Greer Consulting, author and keynote speaker, Mr. Jason Greer. Jason is referred to as the employee whisperer. I love that. And has been featured in Forbes, the Wall Street Journal, and Entrepreneur Magazine. Thanks so much, Jason, for joining us on this show. This is always a very hot topic among our viewers, and I know you're just the man to answer these questions.
Appreciate that.
For those that are out there that are not as familiar with your background and your journey, share that with us for just a second.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the founder and president of Greer Consulting, Inc. And we are in the top 5% of employee and labor relations consultants in the country.
Wow.
I am affectionately known as the employee whisperer. It's not a name I gave myself, but it is trademarked now. It's not a name that I gave myself. It's what I found out my clients were calling me behind my back. And what we do effectively is that we come into organizations and we get a better feel for how employees are doing, how management's doing, and especially when you have those scenarios where maybe there are diversity issues or, God forbid, you have employees who are looking at potentially joining a labor union. What we effectively do is that we come in and we serve as a bridge between management and employees with the hope that our services are finite. We're only there for a certain amount of time, but we want to leave you with anything and everything you need to know about your employees and vice versa.
Okay, so you play really that broker or that agent between the two parties, right? Because if you get somebody
100%.
who's in-house, both sides don't trust and say, well, that guy's a manager for you, or that one's an employee for you. So that doesn't really work. It almost seems to me you've got to have a Jason to come in to sort things out and help the process, right?
Absolutely. And I love how you just put that. You were officially going to be my head marketer. You need a Jason to come in to fix that process. Because what I generally say to companies, especially companies who are considering utilizing our services, is this. Because there's always the thought, especially from the side of the executives and management, is why do we need a third party to come in to do what we should be doing ourselves? And what I generally say to them is, consider this. You can have a couple who's been married for 30 years. Outstanding relationship. They know so much about one another, yet they will trust an outsider in the form of a marriage counselor who they might have found through Google reviews or through a friend's referral.
Absolutely.
And they will unveil their deep, dark secrets to that person. And we're kind of like that person because we serve as that broker.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And that both of those people in the marriage might think for a second, well, what do we need to divulge our secrets and bring an outsider in? But that third party is so crucial because they don't have really a dog in the hunt on either side.
Yes.
Right? They're looking at it strictly from an objective standpoint, right?
100%. Because my firm's motto is this: people will work for money, but they will die for respect and they will die for recognition. But Jim, how you want to be respected might be different than how I want to be respected.
That's right.
How you want to be recognized might be different than how I want to be recognized. But you won't know that until you actually get in there and actually build the relationships and hear the stories.
That's right.
And that's where we come in.
That's right. Well, and that's just exactly where we want you to come in on this conversation. Switching gears for a second, can you share some of the secrets, some of the strategies for retaining employees?
Oh, the biggest I get asked this question a lot, and I'm so glad that you brought this up. I will tell you the core aspect of retaining employees is figuring out what they need in order to stay.
Yeah.
What people generally think is if we pay people better, if we have better benefits, if we have nicer coffee machines, all these various things, people are going to stay.
Sure.
But what we're finding, and understand this is sort of a generational shift as well, is when I have a solid relationship with my manager, but more importantly, when I work for an organization that makes me feel like I'm part of something bigger than myself, I'm more likely to stay. You can throw more money at me, I'll gladly take it. It's America, we're all capital. But what people are really looking for more than anything else is to feel like they matter and that they're more than just a number.
Give me an example of that, because I will tell you, as a business owner myself, I'm always thinking that, well, we're giving them a very clear picture that we've got a great company here, and you are part of a bigger entity here, and something that is bigger than yourself, because we're running this entire media company, and therefore we're giving you this very clear picture of what everybody is doing each day and
Yes.
how we're helping. So sometimes it can be confusing because I think in some cases they want more than that, or maybe I'm not pointing out the right features.
You're correct. What's fascinating to me is the number of organizations that I go into when I talk to your tenured employees, and I'm talking employees who've been there for 10 years or more, and they can actually talk about, let's say hypothetically, it's your company, and they can talk about, I remember 10 years ago, Jim used to come down and shake our hands. We used to have donuts together. We used to talk. I felt like I knew him. So every time I went to the floor, every time I got behind the camera, I felt like I wasn't just doing this for myself, but I was doing this for him also.
Yeah.
Because he saw me.
Yeah.
Then the organization grows. And even though you're still being transparent in terms of the finances, you're being transparent in terms of the production numbers.
It's not that one-on-one.
They don't know you anymore. Right. They don't know you anymore. And that's what people are holding on to. Now, if we're talking small businesses here, but that number could range from 2 people all the way to thousands of people.
That's right.
But it doesn't stop the fact that in some form or fashion, you have to, as a person in leadership, you have to figure out a way to give yourself back to the people.
Yeah, that's right. Have you been talking to my people, Jason, before the?
You know what? Let's talk. Let's talk afterward. I'm just saying, I'll give you the homeboy.
Because I'm thinking to myself, wow, he's pretty much nailing it right there. And how did he know that? No. But so how do you approach reducing turnover rates and boosting employee satisfaction? You just mentioned a couple of them, but this is such a hot topic. I mean, there's got to be just a plethora of things, or hopefully, that employers can do to, just lessen the turnover and keep those good and keep those good employees.
Yeah, one of the things I say to my clients is very simple. You can't guess what your employees need. You have to go to your employees to figure out what they actually need by hearing what they have to say. And this is not just in the form of online surveys. And don't get me wrong, because I catch a lot of grief from survey companies when I talk about this in the media. Surveys have their place. Please don't get me wrong. But if I'm sitting in front of the computer simply documenting thoughts, as opposed to actually being able to talk directly to somebody who can do something about said thought.
Right.
It changes my perspective.
Sure.
So what I generally say to companies is this: whether you use my services, whether you do this in-house, you go to the employees. I believe in focus groups, but when I say focus groups, I'm not just saying 3 people per department. I'm saying if your organization has 150 people in it, 150 people makes up your focus group.
Okay.
And you spend the critical time and the critical energy hearing every single person. And also be honest with yourself. If you don't have the time to commit to this, get a third party. But if you're going to, I don't care if you're going to do this in-house or if you're going to get a third party, once your employees talk to you about what they need in order to be retained, you've got to take action.
Yeah.
Because the worst thing in the world is to make a bunch of promises up front and then you don't follow through on the back.
Sure. So it doesn't turn into a complaining session to the leader of the company. It almost seems to me that it's essential that you have a third party conduct that focus group, because people are not going to talk as candidly as they need to, and it's an area where they really need that trust factor. That, look, we're going to give you the goods here, but we don't want you to use it against us next week when you're handing out assignments, right? Which might happen if in the event.
Absolutely. I'm going to give you an example of that. A month ago, I was in New York City and I was running this focus group for this large healthcare company. The employees are not saying anything. Jim, I'm a confident guy, but I can get, I have self-doubt. And I'm like, man, am I losing my mojo? I can't get anybody to talk.
Right.
And I kept keying in on one employee who was trying to get my attention. And with his eyes, he kept looking over to his left. And I realized what he was saying to me. There was something about the person sitting next to him. And so I asked the question, just for giggles and grins, is anybody in here a manager or a supervisor or a lead? And there was one person that raised their hand. It happened to be that person who was sitting to the left of that employee who got my attention.
Sure.
And I said, ma'am, with all due respect, can you please exit? We'll have our time to talk, but can you please exit so I can hear their perspective?
Yep.
As soon as she left, 2 minutes later, it was like people just opened up. We ended up going for an hour and a half because people had so much to say.
Sure.
They liked that manager. Please understand, they liked that manager.
Yeah, of course.
But
it still changes. It changes the environment.
It still changes everything.
There's no question.
It just changes the environment.
It taints that group right there, and they're going to say things
100%.
They're going to hold back on some negativity that might come out, and they're also going to talk positively, maybe falsely, because that leader is in the room as well.
And to that point, sometimes people just have to get stuff out.
Yeah.
Even they, they don't even want you to do anything about it. They just want to know that somebody's there to hear them.
That's right.
And once they get it out, and I'm glad you brought up about the complaining aspect, because my general rule of thumb is complain for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then, because this is where it's really important to use that critical third party, skilled third party, complain for about 15 minutes and then start guiding them toward what they really need.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's when you start to get the data.
Right. Come up with a solution rather than just focusing constantly on what the problems might be in that organization, right? And then and then as you do focus on those solutions, because it's in a setting like that, they're going to have buy-in much quicker, right?
100%.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me when we come in and do this. What we generally say is, let's say I'm doing this for your organization, Jim. What I'll generally say is, look, you all don't know me. And 3 days from now, you'll probably forget that you even spoke to me in terms of my name.
Yeah.
But I'm coming in because Jim and his organization have legitimately said, we want to make a commitment to you, you, the employees, because we want to hear what you have to say. We want to know what you're thinking about when you're driving to work, what you're thinking about when you're at work, what you're thinking about when you're driving home from work, because we want to make sure that this is the type of organization where you feel valued, respected, and more importantly, you want to stay.
Right.
We can't guess what that thing is. We need to hear it directly from you. What that says to the employee is,
you care.
Oh man, I really do matter to this company.
Yeah, you care. Yeah.
Because the vast majority of companies aren't doing something like this. They're doing the end of the year survey that every company does, which is very impersonal. But in the fact that you're actually taking the time to bring somebody in to hear directly from the employees, that doesn't speak volumes about me. It speaks volumes about you.
That's right. That's right. Now, this is where the rubber meets the road in this situation. And I've been involved in this before. Where does leadership fall into all of this? Because if they just bring a Jason Greer in and cut a check and say, oh, here's how we're going to address some of the issues. We're going to let Jason listen to them. See, this is how much we really care. And then Jason does exit the building, makes his report, to the leadership of that company. And then it's, okay, let's put that report away now. We had him come in. He listened to all of you. See how much we care. That's why we brought him in. But the leadership's got to put into motion the things that they're learning from those focus groups, right? Or at least some of them. Because if they 100%. Don't, now the employees are even more mad and more upset with their employer.
Absolutely, 100%. Because understand, even though I'm coming in as your conduit to the employees, as the employee whisperer, I'm also putting you on Front Street also. Yeah. Because the employees ask every single group, I don't care if I'm running a group of 5 people or I'm running a group of 50 people. At the tail end, they say, this has been great. I feel better. It's very cathartic. But what now? Right. I will legitimately tell the employees, I will present the deep dive assessment report within the next 14 days. Okay. And as part of my contract, the organization is responsible for getting back to you within 1 month, 1 calendar month from the time that they receive the report, getting back to you about what the next steps are. Because in the deep dive assessment report, I'm not just giving you a bunch of the employees' complaints. I'm also working you through what are the direct recommendations in terms of reestablishing trust with the employees, reestablishing processes and policies that make sense for them, but more importantly, how to tap into them. But that can only be done if they feel like you're going to follow through. Yeah,
there's no question about it. I'm glad that you add that, because if it's just a Band-Aid that they say, well, let's bring Jason in and he'll calm everybody down, he'll listen to them, and then nothing happens, man, that will get a team upset with you pretty quickly, won't it?
Oh, it's terrible. And I'm going to tell you something too. I'm probably the only entrepreneur who's ever going to say this to you is I want to work myself out of a job. Yeah. When I say I want to work myself out of a job, it's if 3 years later, you are still calling me to come in and talk to your employees because you have this inability to talk to your employees, we're doing something wrong. Not you. We're doing something wrong.
Right. But hear me out on this. There's always something where they need a Jason to come in, and in my humble opinion, to come in and say, okay, we did that a year ago. We did that 2 years ago. Let's talk about what's on the table today. And so that, by the way, if I do it every year, if I do it every 2 years with you, bringing you in, now it's not this huge volcano that erupts and I lose a whole division of people. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. And actually, that's how we operate in many ways. And even using the example that I had about if you're calling me back 3 years from now, we haven't done something right. It's really along the lines of, if you are scared to talk to your employees, if you continue to fumble the ball, because I'm an old football guy, then we've done something wrong. But I have clients, I got my start, 2005 is when I founded my business. Wow. 2005, founded my business with $100 in my pocket, literally. I'm a former board agent with the National Labor Relations Board. And I have clients that I'm still servicing from 2005 because, to your point, they've had turnovers in management.
Sure.
They've had turnovers in employees. And especially these days, COVID changed a lot.
Of course.
COVID changed a lot in terms of not only how people are showing up to work or not showing up to work, but in terms of what they're now asking or requiring from companies that they weren't doing pre-COVID.
That's right.
So we're definitely involved in sort of the nitty-gritty of what's going on in these various organizations.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a need out there for a Jason, the employee whisperer, to be on a team. That even if it's just a checkup, even if it's just to show your employees, look, we care about you, we care about the company, we care about your future and ours together. To bring somebody like Jason Greer in to say, look, let us know as leadership what is on their mind, and at the same time, you can broker that particular deal, so to speak, for the lack of a better term, but that new approach, I should say, that has to maybe take place in that company among its employees and leadership.
Well, yes, and it's so personal. I mean, it's personal from the perspective of the employees, but also personal from the perspective of the managers. Because one of the things that I don't think we do enough time talking or spend enough time talking about is what I call the middle manager crunch. Because you have these middle managers, and I'm starting to see, especially here within the past 4 years, a lot of our work has been focused on these middle managers because they are catching hell from the executives.
Oh, I know.
In terms of hitting their numbers. They're catching hell from the employees.
That's right.
No one is actually talking to the middle managers about how you're doing.
Yeah, that's right.
And then at the same time, you add on to this, look, we know you're stressed, we know you're tired, but we want you to go out and do these surveys with the employees. What? Right?
I know.
And so, then they're hearing the employees complaining about them, and that's when that chaos erupts because they take it personal. Because they're spending more time with the employees than they do with their own family.
That's right. Oh, and this just in, the middle managers have their own grievances and their own concerns that they like to talk to leadership about, right?
It's incredible the amount of managers who I've met and who have shared with me privately that they want to see the companies that they work for, they want to see them burn because they are exhausted. And they feel like nobody cares about them.
Yep, that's right. That's right. That's not our company here. I'll tell you that right now. If I find that out, boy, they're out of here.
You're going to love on them. You're going to love on them.
Maybe I need Jason. I think I need Jason.
That's what I'm saying.
That's right.
I got your back, brother.
Maybe I've taken the wrong approach all these years. Jason Greer, CEO of Greer Consulting, author, keynote speaker. Thank you for joining us. This has been great. I've got about 12 other questions here on this topic because it is an important one. I'd love to have you back to go over some of these things. And I know this is going to be a very popular show because people today, business owners large and small, want to know, how do you get good people? More importantly, how do you keep them and keep them happy? Happy people have a tendency to create a happy bottom line. So thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Hey, it's such a pleasure. You were so much fun.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of The Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.com.